iHeart, get ready. Fantasy football is here. Welcome to the Scout Fantasy Show. ScoutFantasy.com is home to the Fantasy Football World Championships and the best players in the world. Real money winners giving their secrets to help you win. Now exclusively on iHeart. This is the Scout Fantasy Show with your host, the one, the only, Dr. Roto.
Buddy, it's Dr. Roto. Get out the insurance cards. Get out the copay. The office is open, my friends. That's right. It is open for business, fantasy baseball, so close. Just 2 days away. Sunday is opening day. I have my last auction of the year on Sunday morning. Could they have waited any longer? Usually we'd have it last week. I wish we did. But ready to go. I can't even believe I'm doing waivers. I'm doing tout waivers. I'm doing labor waivers. I'm doing FSTA waivers. I don't even know what I'm doing yet. I don't even know who I know who I like, but I'm ready for the games to happen. I'm ready for the games to start. So this is an exciting time. Opening day. Everybody's a winner. Or at least everybody thinks they could be a winner. But many teams won't be after Sunday. And certainly after Monday. A couple of things I want to cover on this podcast is I'm going to give you a couple of tips, last-minute tips for your fantasy baseball drafts and auctions that you can use. That's one thing I'm going to do. Second thing I'm going to do is also I'm going to give you some things for DFS purposes to get you started. Okay? I am not telling you I'm an algorithm guy. I'm not going to tell you that I export 4,000 lineups, but I'm going to tell you that I know enough about DFS to guide you. Okay? I can guide you in the right direction. And once you get there, you can figure it out with guys who have perfected DFS. But we all know the players, right? We all know the player pool. But let's just start with the DFS first. I want to know what Vegas is thinking. Okay? The first thing I want you thinking about is what is Vegas thinking about this game? Basically, I'm looking at the run total. Does Vegas think this is going to be a high or low scoring game? Now, you're not alone. Everybody's doing it. Everybody sees the Rockies and Padres at Coors are 10 runs scored. I get it. We all know it. But you need to know what Vegas is thinking. Because you need to know what your competition is thinking. So if the Colorado Padre game is at 10 and the next highest game is 8, you know where the action is going to be. Now, I'm not telling you to play that game, but I'm telling you need to know about that game because you need to know what your competition's doing. And they'll be playing that game for sure. Right? All the fish will be on that game. Now, you can do one of three things with that game. You can play it, fade it, or go halfway in. Personally, I tend to fade those games. I do. I tend to fade those obviously high-scoring affairs. And when I do that, it is very, I guess contrarian is obviously the right word, but it's dangerous. But the reason I do it is this. I'm not a cash game player. I never have been. Maybe I should be. Probably should be. I've been told by many people I should be. I'm not. I want the big bucks. $100 is nice. 100,000 is better. If that's the case, I need to differentiate from my competition. I need to differentiate from my competition. So if I feel that 45% of the players are going to be on one game, if I'm away from that game and that game turns out to be a lemon, I'm already ahead of 45% of the field. So if that game is high scoring, I'm done anyway. Right? That 45% is going to figure it out. But if that game is low scoring, I've got a distinct advantage. So I'm willing probably to do 2 to 3 lineups, one where I embrace that game, one where I fade that game, and one where I go halfway in on that game, where I get a little action. Because I don't want to fade it all together. I want to have some guys in there. Maybe an Arenado, maybe a Trevor Story, maybe Will Myers, right? Because I was talking about Padres and the Rockies. I want to have some exposure to that game, but not too much. So we're looking at Las Vegas. Let Vegas guide us. Next, you got to know your splits. Who hits lefties well? Who hits righties well? This is one of the easiest things you can do in daily fantasy baseball. When I see a lefty on the mound, you better believe I'm looking at Danny Valencia. He hits lefties. Now, when a righty's on the mound, I'm not going to play Danny Valencia because I know he doesn't do as good a job with him. Now, does that mean I'm always playing Danny Valencia against a lefty? No, but he's on my list. So then what I need to do is weigh out, do I like Danny Valencia against the lefty, or do I like Carlos Santana versus a righty, for example? I'm just giving you a name. Or Mitch Moreland. How about that? Mitch Moreland versus a righty or Danny Valencia versus a lefty? Love them both. Moreland wrecks righties and Valencia wrecks lefties. Then I have to look at the matchups and decide where I want to be. Who fits in? Who slots in best value-wise? Who has the most upside in this matchup? Where are they batting? Is Moreland batting 7th? Is Valencia batting 4th? I don't know, but that would make a big difference. So I want to know my splits. Who does better against certain pitchers? And then, which pitchers get certain guys out? Who struggles against righties? Who struggles against lefties? If John Lester is good against lefties and there's a bunch of lefties in that lineup, then I'm in on John Lester. Same concept. Know your splits. If you know your splits, you've got a very good chance to win in DFS. Next, do I worry about weather? Yeah, not really. I'm checking out my boy Kevin Roth on Twitter, and if you don't, you'd be making a monumental mistake. Go to Kevin Roth, check it out. He is the DFS weather guru. He's the guy. He's the guy that's going to help you figure out which games to fade based on weather. For the most part, and Tommy G taught me this, weather gets people all in a tizzy, but most games don't really get rained out. Most games don't get rained out. So a lot of people stay away due to weather, but it's a mistake because those games end up playing and they're low ownership games. Oh my God, Kansas City against Minnesota, that game's never going to play. I'm not going to play it. Who's going to play that game? And then all of a sudden, you get Eric Hosmer at like 3% owned because everybody thought the same way you did. But if you played it, you get Eric Hosmer and he hits a home run, you have him at 3% owned. Boom, good for you. Good for you. Next, what is a stack and do you need to do it? Yes, you do. You need to stack. And a stack is when you've got 3 or 4 guys in the same lineup. Stacking works. Stacking is how you win. If you try to play individual guys from individual teams, it is way too much luck. So you want to stack. I want the 2, 3, 5, and 6 hitter for the Rangers. Get them in there. Right? So what am I doing when I'm stacking? I am looking at the lineups. I am looking preferably at the first 5 to 6 hitters in the lineup and asking myself which 4 to 5 guys fit nicely on my team. What I then want to do is I might stack another game or even 2 games. I might have 3 stacks, 3 mini stacks, or 2 bigger stacks, depending on the matchups. Now, if I can stack a Rangers and a Rocky stack, I will. But if I need to do a Rangers stack, a Rocky stack, and a Dodger stack, I will. Whatever it takes. But I think that's the way to do it. You need a couple of guys in the lineup. 1, if the guy gets a hit. 2, the guy gets knocked in. 3, there's an RBI, there's a home run. You're getting multiple points. That's why you stack. Try not to get guys who hit 7th, 8th, or 9th in the order. They're not going to help you as much as they don't get enough at bats. And at bats gives you points. Points gets you money because the most points wins the most money. So you're absolutely going to want to stack. Another thing I want to talk about, BVP, batter versus pitcher. And there's a raging debate on BVP in the DFS industry. Does BVP really matter? What do you think about BVP? I don't know. Well, let me just say this to you. How does BVP not matter? Haven't you played sports? Haven't you played sports your whole life? Aren't there certain guys you play better than others? How about, I'll just use tennis. Let's say you're playing a lefty and he's serving. Isn't it a harder serve to receive? When he hits his forehand, are you getting as much back to him? Are you getting as much, on your racket back? Are you getting as much power as you need in your rally? No, he's putting you in a bad position. So how does BVP not matter? Baseball, you're at the plate. Are you seeing the pitch well? Does the pitcher have a weird motion? Are you eyeballing it well? These are very important considerations. Anybody who doesn't think that case is nuts. And I'll tell you, if you don't believe in BVP, you've never played sports before in your life. There were guys, when you were a kid, you got up there and you're like, I can hit off this guy. I'm confident against this guy. Then there'd be guys you get up there like, oh man, this guy's wild. I don't know. He's all over the place. I don't see the pitch that well. By the time I see it, it's already past me. Come on. It's human nature. So yes, I look at BVP. Now then there's some guys, well, I only look at BVP if it's like 52 at bats. Whatever, dude. Seriously. If the guy's 8 for 20 with 4 home runs, you're telling me you're not looking at that? Please. Please. Don't embarrass yourself. I'm looking at that. You jacked 4 home runs against somebody. That's worthy of me looking at. Seriously. I was talking about this with my son. I took him to a spring training game, and he was like, wow, hitting a baseball is hard. I said, yes, hitting a baseball is one of the hardest things you can do. It's one of the hardest things you can do. There's a little ball going very fast, and it's moving in many different directions. You try hitting it 400 feet. Good luck with that. So if you've jacked 4 home runs off a pitcher before, you don't think that means something to me? Absolutely. Now, if you're the guy that's going to make your team based on BVP, you're nuts. Okay? There's other things to use. WOBA. Right? Other things that people use. Right? These are advanced statistics. I don't want to go into them now. We will at some point during the season. Jonathan Bales' book is really good. You want to learn about all those other statistics that you need to know about. Jonathan Bales' books are great. But BVP has its worth. So I recommend you looking at it. Where do you play? Well, know your money, know your bankroll. $3 in a dream, I have no problem with that. But remember, here's the biggest problem with baseball. And it's a huge problem. It really is. The more lineups you have, the more stacks I can have. So, Yankees Toronto, Yankees Baltimore, Yankees Boston, Yankees Minnesota, Yankees Royals, Yankees LA. I can stack the Yankees with 8 different teams. That's 8 lineups. Oh, I like the Dodgers. Dodgers, Yankees. I can, right? So usually the guys with the most money and the most entries can cover the most stacks. That's why these guys win money in baseball. And it's very frustrating. See, football is not as stacky, in my opinion. Maybe there's minor things you can stack, but I don't think about football. When I play fantasy football, I win a lot because I'm finding out which players are there. I don't think about what running back is stacking with a quarterback. But baseball is a stack-driven sport. More than basketball, more than anything. So it's about finding the right stacks and putting them together. Do I have my Rocky stack with my Padre stack? Boom, you're my rich friend. These guys who play in multiple entry tournaments can stack all over the place. You need to watch that. So try to get into the 3 entry tournaments or the single entry tournaments. Mano y mano. That's safer for you. You get into those big high price tournaments, you're going to suffer. And I will tell you this. I'm going to make a commitment right here. I'm going to say it out loud on this podcast. I'm going to back off the tournaments. I'm still going to play because, hey, $3 in a dream, my friends. But I'm going to back off. A couple of bucks here or there. I'm mostly going to play cash games, or I'm mostly going to play, not cash games, but single entry or 3 entry max games. I can't compete with your 20 and 30 and 40 stacks. I just can't. Nor do I want to. It puts me at a competitive disadvantage, and I don't want any part of that. So I am going to stay away. I'm going to do my best for single entry and 3 max. Keep it tight. I might do the 20 entry tournament. That intrigues me because I'll take 20 entries, but I can't do 150. I can't afford 150 if I'd like to stay married because Mrs. Roto won't have any part of that. None. Zero. Nada. So be very careful the games you play. And we will look at that over the course of these baseball podcasts. Right? You got to know the right games to get into. Now, I want you to take a look at my article today on Scout Fantasy. It's my last minute prescription notes. I give some great pieces of advice on what to do in your drafts here. I'll give you a couple right now. I'll tease a couple out, and then the rest you can go read on Scout Fantasy. And if you're not a member of Scout Fantasy, now's the time. Enter the promo code ROTO. Pay for 1 month, get 2 more for free. But let me tell you this. You need a top starter. You need an anchor to your rotation. Don't come home without a guy. Now, we all can't get Scherzer. We all can't get Sale. But between Syndergaard and Sale and Scherzer and Kluber and Darvish, we need a guy. You're not going to win with Sean Manaea and Ivanova. You need one guy. So please make sure you get a guy. I got a guy who knows a guy who needs a guy, and you need a guy. Next, you don't need 7 closers, but you need 1 really good one. And maybe you might not get Aroldis Chapman or Kenley Jansen, but you need O, Kimbrel, Giles, Kelvin Herrera, Roberto Osuna. You need one of those. Zach Britton. You need one guy. You don't need 3, but I need one guy to prevent you from getting a 0 in saves. I don't want that. And here's the third piece of advice I'll give you. And the rest you got to read. All right? Can't give it all. Get a first baseman with power. You get Brandon Belt. I have Miguel Cabrera. You had 18 home runs. I hit 35. I'm already beating you by 17. I already have more RBIs than you. I already have more runs scored than you. First base is very thin. Don't come home without a first baseman. You'll be in big trouble. Get yourself a first baseman and get yourself a first baseman with power. It's incredibly important this year, maybe more than ever, because first base is incredibly thin. But you'll find all this information and much, much more on scoutfantasy.com. All right? Can't wait for opening day. I'm excited. I'm ready to help you in your seasonal leagues. I'm helping you win in DFS. We are at Scout Fantasy. We're excited. We are part of what the Scout Army. We want you a part of the Scout Army. This is a great time. So please join us at scoutfantasy.com. Enter the promo code ROTO once again. Pay for 1 month. Get 2 more for free. All right, if you have drafts this weekend, good luck. If you have auctions this weekend, good luck. But most importantly, be well. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Scout Fantasy Show. There's never been a better time to join the Scout Army. Visit scoutfantasy.com. Use the promo ROTO for 2 months free. And don't forget, fantasy players, please thumbs up the podcast on the iHeart app. See you next time. Go Scouts!